Some people say the Odyssey was a good film. Some say a very good film. Some even say it was a masterpiece. But my question to these people are, as if it's a masterpiece, are you willing to put it on the level of The Godfather, Braveheart, The Gladiator, The Dark Knight, The Lord of the Rings, some of the greatest movies of all time? If you hesitate, then my point has been proven. It cannot be in some subsection of masterpiece. It either is with these greatest films of all time or it's not a masterpiece. Now that we've proven that it cannot be labeled a masterpiece, let's go into if we can even call it a good film. The Odyssey is considered to be one of the greatest epics of all time, possibly the greatest story ever written. So how can a good and faithful adaptation of the greatest story ever written be merely a good to maybe very good film? It's a contradiction. It either belongs with the greatest movies of all time or it simply is not a good and faithful adaptation. Today I want to go into why I believe it is a bad film and an even worse adaptation through three topics. Firstly, the pacing, the worldview of Greek mythology in this movie, and finally, the character of Odysseus himself. My first complaint with the movie was the pacing. It managed to be rushed and too long at the same time. The Cyclops, one of the most iconic scenes in the poem, rushed. The Laestrygonians, rushed. Scylla and Charybdis, rushed. Sirens, rushed. You're not given any time to sit with any of it, to actually feel any of the danger. The film's already moved on by that point. In the movie, you're supposed to build momentum. That's how a story earns its ending. Everything Odysseus survives is supposed to raise the stakes for the next trial he goes through. So when he reaches Ithaca, we feel the weight of everything he's been through. No momentum is built in this film. It felt like they had to do some of the scenes in the book because there's no love behind any of it. There's no passion behind it. It was like, oh, I guess we'll do the Cyclops now. Like a checklist getting checked off. I did the Sirens. I did Scylla and Charybdis. I did the Cyclops to make us feel like a little nostalgia for the book. Like, oh, that's the Cyclops. It got one eye. I know that. I know that. Oh, it's gone. Well, at least they did it. What are we doing? Then the film does the opposite on the back half. Calypso's stretch drags, and the ending runs way longer than it should. Odysseus should have been revealed himself on the first night home and strung the bow right then. Instead, we get a whole extra day where he reveals himself to Telemachus, then to Penelope, the swineherd guy, all on separate occasions. So by the time we reach the bow, we already know how it ends. The extra minutes don't build any tension. They just delay a conclusion that should have been done. This movie never let anything build, so it had nothing to resolve. All it could give me was a sense of relief when the dude finally strung the bow. I mean, finally. That's just a basic storytelling failure. My second complaint is the world and the mythology, how it's depicted in this movie. This doesn't feel like an adaptation of the Odyssey. It feels like a World War II movie disguised as the Odyssey. Where was the awe? Where was the wonder? Where was the excitement, the sadness, the emotion, the feeling? The whole movie felt soulless. For the first time in a long time watching a Nolan film, I was bored. This is Christopher Nolan's Odyssey, clearly because his signature has always been realism. Look at Batman. He was the first to strip away this comic book cheesiness and make a superhero movie that felt real, not like Marvel garbage. That works for Batman. Making Batman real elevated it to a new level. Making the Odyssey real only degrades it. The Odyssey isn't supposed to feel real. It's supposed to feel mythic. It depends on God's sea monsters' awe and wonder, because the entire genre runs on being mythological. Nolan brought his Batman toolkit to a story that needed the opposite one. That's the whole movie problem. You can see it everywhere. Scylla, a six-headed monster in the poem that's described to be terrifying, was like six tentacles that yoinked some guys and then disappeared in the rocks. Charybdis, a whirlpool that swallows ships whole, it looks small. It looks small. No ambition, no scale, no awe. And people are going to say, oh, well, it didn't use CGI. I support that. But if you're not going to use CGI, you better know how to do it, like Peter Jackson in Lord of the Rings. Otherwise, your film's going to look bland and be left bare with no scale. Dare I say the Lord of the Rings monsters look better than the Odysseys. Compare that to Interstellar, the black hole, the ocean planet, with waves the size of mountains. The film knew how to make you feel small in front of something vast. The Odyssey had gods, monsters, giants. Every excuse to do the same thing, and it just did it. Athena, one of the god they actually put on screen gets about 4 minutes. She shakes her head a couple times. That's not the goddess of wisdom who guides Odysseus through the entire poem. I don't even need to see Poseidon and Zeus, but holy shit, can you show just a little supernatural side? I didn't even realize they were in the underworld for most of that scene because I forgot about the ice and fire scene, because they showed that for like 2 seconds. All I asked for was Nolan to have a little fun with the book and the monsters, but instead we got the super serious, yet also painfully emotionless film. Why can't we just have a little fun with this poem? Why does it always got to be PTSD in every damn scene? It's always got to be real life, apparently, because we don't get enough of that. Why can't cinema be a place to tell the supernatural? And one of the biggest failures is Odysseus himself. The character on screen mirrors the movie perfectly. Solemn, boring, hollow it out. Matt Damon plays an old man with PTSD, essentially a World War II veteran. None of what makes Odysseus Odysseus actually exists in the movie. Where's the trickster, the arrogance, the pride, the dangerous cleverness that makes him one of the most compelling characters in all of literature? None of it. Instead, a weak man who's lost his crew's respect and thus is not even the captain of his own ship. Odysseus' defining trait in the poem isn't strength, it's cunning. Homer built the whole character around it. The film cuts the deception. They cut the wordplay. My gosh, they cut the wordplay. In the film, Odysseus barely deceives anyone ever. He isn't fun, he isn't arrogant. He's one-dimensional, and worse, he's the wrong dimension. He's a Nolan interpretation of how the real Odysseus would be, whatever that means. To conclude, the source material is clearly not the problem. The Odyssey has dazzled audiences for nearly 3,000 years. The problem is an adaptation that took the greatest epic ever told and gave it no scale, no wonder, and no Odysseus.